Not content with a lengthy waiting list in most parts of the world for its 90 and 110 versions of the new Defender, Land Rover has now announced that a longer 8-seat, 130 version is also going to be added to its growing portfolio of expensive off-roaders. We're already hearing that in some parts of the world, orders are no longer being taken for the 2023 model year. That means that if you went to order a new Land Rover Defender 130 today, it's possible you might not take delivery for a couple of years or even longer. So, is the Defender 130 worth waiting for, or should you forget about it and buy something else instead? Let's take a look. The Land Rover Defender is one of those rare vehicles that transcends the normal relationship between a vehicle and a customer. Until it was completely redesigned, for it was effectively the first time since the Second World War a couple of years ago, the Defender was more a way of life for its admirers than just a vehicle for getting from one place to another. I worked in Land Rover dealerships for almost a decade, and although I saw it every day, I never understood how Defender enthusiasts got so passionate about what I saw as a pretty awful vehicle. The original Defender was an unashamedly old-fashioned four-wheel drive vehicle that changed very little from its arrival in 1947 until production ceased in 2017. The Defender was loved by farmers, explorers, and the military all over the globe for its staggering off-road capability, incredible durability, and pure simplicity. That simplicity meant it could be repaired with a very basic toolkit in some of the most remote and least hospitable places on Earth. It even had holes in the floor to let water out if the interior got flooded, which was great if you were navigating jungles and swamps, but not what you'd expect with an urban runabout. The original Defender was also produced in 90, 110, and 130 variants. But in almost a decade working in Land Rover dealerships, I think I only ever saw a single 130. It came in for servicing one day, and it was such a novelty that everyone in the dealership, from the general manager to the detailers, went down to see it. The reason so few were produced and sold was because it was a horrible vehicle. It was so long and unmanageable that turning one around was possibly harder than turning a supertanker fully around in the Suez Canal. Now there's no way the new 130 Defender will be as bad as its predecessor. In fact, it will probably be pretty good. At least it will be when it's working. In its press release for the 130, Land Rover says it will allow customers to effortlessly transport up to 8 people across any terrain, and is the ultimate demonstration of Defender's breadth of talents. The Defender 130 is 340 millimeters, or about 13.5 inches longer than the 110. The 8-seat version boasts 389 liters, or 13.73 cubic feet of cargo space behind the third-row seats. The Land Rover Leviathan will be powered by a 3-liter, 6-cylinder mild hybrid power plant that will be offered in 300 and 400 horsepower tunings, and some countries will also have a 300 horsepower diesel mild hybrid with 478 pound-foot of torque available. Unlike the original Defender 130, which didn't really have any real competition, for good reason, the new 130 has some serious rivals to contend with, especially in the US. The 130 is 210 inches long, which is the same as the Chevy Tahoe, but more than 15 inches shorter than the Suburban. However, the 130's 118-inch wheelbase is a couple of inches shorter than the Tahoe and 16 inches shorter than the Suburban. That means the 130 could be more maneuverable than either of the Chevy SUVs, which suggests this 130 will be a different proposition from its predecessor. However, the curb-to-curb turning circle of the Land Rover is a little over 42 feet, which is about a foot better than the Suburban, but a couple of feet worse than the Tahoe. Pricing for the U.S. starts at $69,350, including a $1,350 destination charge, which is competitive against the Suburban and Tahoe. Alternatively, something like the Toyota Highlander starts at just over $41,000. What we need to keep in mind is that the Land Rover Defender 130 is a more premium vehicle than any of those rivals, but not as luxurious as the likes of the Escalade. Once again, the 130 is occupying a rather unique place for itself in the current market. But where the 130 will leave any of its potential rivals behind is when it comes to off-road capability. Land Rovers might be pretty pricey these days, and there are always serious questions about their reliability, but nothing comes close to them for off-roading. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to straighten out a bent track rod with a rock in the desert with the new Defender like you could with the old one, because the new Land Rover Defender is a technological marvel that won't be up for a bush fix. If you decide you want one, place your order fast as the waiting list is growing. In fact, make sure you order two. That way you'll have something to drive when the first one is in the shop getting fixed.